Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to give a little bit of a plug for what the United Nations is trying to achieve. This is still a little bit dry compared to many of the other activities because we've only started about 2 years ago. And you may say 2 years ago, that's ages in internet time. Well, it is absolutely seconds in United Nations time. Forgive me for being critical about my colleagues, but that's what happens when you work with 162 countries rather than 27. So what is UNGGIM? UNGGIM is an intergovernmental initiative established by the United Nations, established by the 162 countries represented in the Economic and Social Council, and it's a formal mechanism for governments to talk to each other about and to work together by governments about geospatial information. It was set up in the July meeting of ECOSOC in 2011, and we had our first meeting, the official inaugural meeting in Seoul in 2011 in October. What it does as well is there's another mandate for UNGGIM coming through the Rio +20 conference, where the Rio +20 statement then also stated that reliable geospatial information is of essential importance to realize the vision of the future we want. So what is its role? Its role is to set joint directions. Its role is to make joint decisions between governments, not between organizations, but between governments. Its role is to work with governments to set up those policy and institutional arrangements and to set up legal frameworks that governments then sign up to. Its role is to look at addressing global issues and specifically also to share knowledge, to contribute to a collective knowledge that governments and its citizens, obviously, and those organizations that work inside governments or with governments can work with on the shared interests and concerns. And eventually, it is to build geospatial capabilities and capacities, especially in developing countries where there are so many people that can still learn from all the work, for instance, that we are doing here. And the vision as such is to make reliable, accurate, authoritative information, geospatial information readily available. And that's what it is. So how is that different from Inspire? Well, a bit, but not so much, and all those kind of things. But it's quite different. So in short, what you may not know, because we are not statisticians, but what we may not know is that over the last 20 years, the statistical community has worked very hard to make sure that statistics can be compared on a worldwide scale, that statistical organizations work in certain ways. The statistical information can then be used at a worldwide scale by the World Bank, by the United Nations, etc., to make worldwide policy decisions. And that's where the vision for UNGGIM comes from as well. And in very short, Paul Chung, who was the director of the United Nations Statistics Division, had this idea that just like statistics, every country must have authoritative, trusted, maintained, definitive mapping data. Okay, that was just you saying mapping data is maybe a little bit too compact, too small. Actually, we talk about spatial, we talk about location, we talk about geography. There were a couple of meetings so far that we've had, and the only reason why I put these up is to actually show that this is actually starting to live now. The first forum was opened by the Prime Minister of the Republic of Korea in Seoul. So at high level, with a certain high level representation, 350 participants from 90 different countries, including addresses from 8 different ministers from, again, across the globe. Just about every continent was represented there. Then we had the official second session last August was the first real working session. The first session was only the inaugural session where we said, yep, we really want to do this in this way. The second session was the first real working session, and we had over 200 delegates in attendance from, again, around 80 different nations. What is important is, what is important is that we've got an inventory of issues. There are real issues that the world governments would like to address, and these are. This is the list. I trust these will be published. These slides will be published. So please go through them. They are really important, and there are quite a number that are quite important for Europe as well. The GGIM already starts to take decisions. Starts to make decisions that governments now have signed up to work on a certain thing, really work on certain things and subscribe to these issues. Okay, we've published a list of a document working towards what are the trends, how can we learn from each other. Okay, so very briefly about Europe, very briefly, hopefully 1 minute. In Europe, we've now also said we want to work together as governments to establish a regional representation in this forum, in this initiative in GGIM. A preparatory committee was created under the leadership of Eurostat. But we've been working very closely with all of the Europe parts, with recognizing existing systems, existing services, and trying to work with as many as possible regional organizations. And with that, we've set ourselves the task to, within the next 18 months, establish UN GGIM for Europe, which again, people in the United Nations say, what do you mean 18 months? That's impossible. You need at least 5 years. But okay, the next, please find more information at ggim.un.org, and happy to talk to you about this important initiative a little bit later. Thank you.